You know, we've been talking a lot about adaptations over the past couple of days, be it the video I did discussing them in their entirety, or my overview slash rant slash discussion on the Spider-Man film franchise. I'm kind of surprised that I didn't get this review out for this particular movie a long time ago, seeing as how everybody and their dog, speaking of dogs, Nuggets! Look at the camera. Who and their dog, who and their dog. I don't know who you and your dog are, but you have a dog. Anyway. Surprised I didn't get this review out earlier. The Avengers. So, The Avengers. Generally, a lot of hype towards this movie. Why? It's been building up for the past 5 movies, ever since the cameo of Nick Fury, Samuel L. Jackson at the end of Iron Man 1 is just spiraled out of control. We've had a sequel to Iron Man, the Incredible Hulk reboot, Thor, Captain America, and now we got the Avengers. And, well, was it any good? The answer is, fuck yeah, it was good. When it comes to the Avengers, I've seen a lot of people say that they particularly don't like the Avengers, mainly because the story is really not there. It's not something that, well, for a person who wants to go see a movie and get a great story out of it, it's just not going to satisfy them. Well, the thing about the Avengers you gotta understand is that this was building up over the past 5 movies, more or less. From Iron Man, Iron Man 2, Thor, Captain America, the Incredible Hulk, it was just all teasing for the Avengers. So if you've watched those movies in their entirety, you already can get the premise of what the Avengers is going to be about. So all the Avengers was, it didn't really need to have the most expansive story in the world, the most deep story in the world, because what was it at the end of the day? It was a climax movie. It was just to wrap everything up that they've been building up. And personally, I accept the movie for what it is. It's not meant to be this deep, rich, thought-provoking comic book film. Because if I want to see something like that, I'd go check out, I don't know, The Dark Knight, or I'd go watch Sin City or something, you know, that actually relies on the story to get you through it. Now, the Avengers, when you strip away all of the stuff regarding the climax, it's just a fun movie at the end of the day. That's really all that's there. Because, as you know, the story really, like I said, is not there. They've sort of made up for it when it comes to the action as well as the humor. The writing of the Avengers is actually pretty damn good, especially for a comic book movie. Because usually, in some cases, the scenes either feel too serious or they feel too goofy. The Avengers has a pretty even balance of both. I really enjoyed it. Everybody has a great sense of humor. The humor never really does take away from the situation, like there's no one just cracking a joke out of nowhere and that just destroys the scene. They're very careful where they insert the humor. And I just gotta say, when it comes to the lines, it's pretty well written, especially for characters like, of course, Tony Stark. But not just Tony Stark, everybody has their own little sense of humor going on. You know, Nick Fury, hell, even Thor and Bruce Banner got some going on there. But as you couldn't tell already, the humor is definitely one of the highlights of the Avengers. You're gonna keep laughing throughout the entire movie, no matter how bored you get throughout it. There's always one joke there to just always put a smile on your freaking face. Yay! And regarding the action is very well done. You know, there's never, in my opinion, too much action in one certain scene. They break it up between, well, in my opinion, there's 3 separate scenes where there's big action. There's where the first encounter of Loki, Thor, Captain America, all that stuff where they first meet each other. Then there's the battle on the ship, and then there's the final climax, you know. So the action scenes that they do have are very well done. Now moving on to the characters. When it comes to the characters in the movie, they're pretty much what you'd expect if you've seen the other movies. Everybody is in character. The problem that I think a lot of people are having with the Avengers is due to the fact that there isn't really too much character development going on, but that's to be expected. When you have a movie that encompasses heroes from individual movies, putting into one film, you can't expect a ton of deep, rich character development to go on, because then you end up putting too much development on one character, then the other guys feel shafted. So for what they did, there was a pretty even balance, and they really didn't need to go ham on this one, because every hero is getting their own sequel to their movie, and we have talks about Black Widow getting a movie, as well as another Incredible Hulk, which I'll get to later. Maybe a Nick Fury spinoff, maybe a Hawkeye spinoff, I don't know. But I, for one, wasn't expecting there to be a ton of character development, simply because, really, was anybody? I really wasn't expecting much, generally because of the situation, the circumstance. I mean, you have all of these things here right now. You don't really need character development in this scenario. For what they do, for however little they do good. Like I said, every actor plays their character pretty damn well, from Robert Downey Jr. as Tony Stark, you know, Chris Evans, Chris Hemsworth, Scarlett Johansson was actually one I was really surprised by, because when I saw her performance in Iron Man 2, she really did feel like eye candy. I wasn't too big a fan of Iron Man 2, as you can surmise, but generally Black Widow was one of the ones that I really didn't care much for, because they were just using her for her sex appeal. However, she actually does shit in this movie, and her character is pretty deep for what they gave her to work with, and it was great. It was great seeing Hawkeye kick some ass. You know, Nick Fury is, well, Samuel L. Jackson. What do you expect out of Samuel L. Jackson, for Christ's sake? And also, moving on to the new cast addition, what the hell was that guy's damn name? Mark Ruffalo as Bruce Banner. As you guys know, I was a big fan of Edward Norton in The Incredible Hulk. I think that he literally embodied everything that is the character. It sucks that what happened to him, you know, the complications between Marvel, they gave him the boot, etc., etc. I'm not going to get into that, because I'll get pretty enraged at some of the stupid decisions Marvel is doing. But Mark Ruffalo as Bruce Banner, honestly, he was okay, I guess. I really can't say anything more, because he didn't really do too much shit. He was in only a couple of scenes, and then he transformed into the Hulk. So we really didn't get to see his character. For what he had to work with, I guess he was okay, but it's going to be interesting to see how he handles himself in his own movie. Because that's where you don't have the support of the cast to carry you on, because the majority of the time where he was interacting with the cast, you know, they sort of carried the performances, and, you know, he just, if you want to say, leached off them. But for what he did on his own, it was alright. But like I said, I can't really give much to him since he didn't do much. But his alter ego, his persona, the Hulk, that was freaking badass. Seeing Hulk just stole the show. That's all I gotta say. Seeing Hulk kick Loki's ass, oh man, so much applause in the audience from every single damn scene Hulk was in. It was just awesome. And that's really all I gotta say on the Avengers, people. Overall, it's a great popcorn flick. Just because it's a popcorn flick doesn't mean it's a bad movie, because in some cases it works out, especially here, because for what they were trying to do, it was essentially a comic book fan's wet dream come to life. It's in the reality. You can jizz in the theater, and it was in 3D jizz. But no, yeah. For what they had to work with, they weren't really going with such a deep story. They weren't trying to tell this complex tale. They just wanted you to have fun with what little you're getting out of the story. The characters were all funny. The action was great. And overall, it's a great popcorn flick. It's one of the best popcorn flicks I have seen in a very long time, and that's saying a lot, because the past 4 to 5 years we've just been seeing a shit ton of them, from Transformers to Battleship, etc., etc. I can sum up the Avengers like this. You really know what is going to happen in the movie. It's pretty damn predictable how it's going to unfold. However, that does not stop the ride from being any less entertaining. Now, this is where the real challenge comes. The Avengers 2, as you guys already know, Disney has greenlit the sequel to the Avengers, because it's made more than $1.4 billion at the box office. That's just crazy. This is where I'm going to be more critical of the sequel, because now that they've had the time to establish everybody as a team, as predictable as it was, it's now time to prove yourself. As the other characters go on and do their own separate movies, they've already had their origin stories done for them. How they come together in the sequel is going to be very interesting, because as you guys know, spoiler, as you guys know, at the end of the movie, you see Thanos, and they're talking about the Infinity Gauntlet, and Loki going back with Thor to Asgard, you know, Loki's real plan all along to sneak into the realm, all that stuff. But yeah, you get what I'm saying? There's a lot to look forward to the Avengers 2, and I definitely think that that is where they really need to show their stuff, as far as a great story, just general a great movie all around. That's really all you gotta see on the Avengers. It's definitely worth the watch. It's a great popcorn movie. I'm definitely gonna be buying it on Blu-ray. And yeah, from me to you for now, I'm GS signing out. Go see the Avengers, and I will catch you guys later. Peace.